Second quick upload today is with regards to the position and role of women and children in society, and basically how their safety, well-being, and health are to be prioritised as their constitutional right. So basically, throughout these uploads, I've shared how I've been victimized and violated, and how the human rights violations have involved each and every right of the Human Rights Declaration being absolutely disrespected in the experience that's occurring throughout this vendetta. So basically, my concern as a qualified educator for the Department of Education, and as a humanitarian, and as a recipient of the President's Award, and as a recipient of the Duke of Edinburgh Award, and as a humanitarian and peacekeeper that has been violated and victimized um, throughout this vendetta, and that has experienced these offences. My concern is the role and the responsibility of authorities to safeguard and protect um, women and children in particular in society, and to safeguard their rights and their identities um, without violating or offending their human rights. So we all have a right to safety, and in particular, law abiding citizens have a right to safety. And those jeopardizing and threatening the rights of freedom and expression and well being and health and the right to family and such things. I'm wondering throughout this vendetta how the offenders of these rights aren't the individuals being confronted, aren't the individuals that are being scrutinized or criticized. And I'm wondering, how is it that the victim, um, such as myself in this circumstance, is continuously being isolated, undermined, and ignored, with offences continuously being perpetrated and very serious defamation also occurring. So, the violation of privacy and inviolability of dwellings is a huge concern. People trespassing onto property that doesn't belong to them, and perpetrating these offences has been a lot for any woman of nearly 40 years of age to come to terms with. So, as a new mother of only in the past 4 years, these are the circumstances I've presented with in a democracy. And I'm just wondering how much more of these offences are going to be perpetrated, and how much more defamation have I to experience before the honourable politicians in Dáil Éireann acknowledge how serious a situation is being caused for women's rights and children's rights. This mightn't be easy viewing or listening to, or for those individuals that are being updated with these uploads every day. But this is the reality of the situation, and it's not pleasant. And there's been very serious matters caused with the violations of privacy in particular, and the issue of violations of bodily integrity. So this is horrendous to be occurring in a democracy and an EU country. And as an EU citizen, um, I'm wondering how such an example has been set in society, that people think that violating and victimizing and perpetrating vendetta is in any way tolerable, acceptable, or excusable. So, all law abiding citizens um, have a right to have their rights safeguarded and protected. Hate crime is no reason for any individual to be excused for their offences. Hate crime is not any reason for anyone to be excused for violating rights. Hate crime is not an acceptable norm, and hate crime is not a tolerable way of living or having um, examples set in society especially when civil liberties are the priority. So, this issue of women's and children's rights being disrespected and negated is a huge concern for me as a qualified professional educator and humanitarian. And I'd appreciate it if the Taoiseach and the President of Ireland would acknowledge the reality of these circumstances and that everyone's livelihood deserves to be respected also. And if lessons learned aren't learned from the past, then I'm even more concerned with how things are occurring. So that's just a quick second upload with regards to the safety, well-being, and health and rights of women and children in particular that are always to be prioritized in society. um, so, in this particular incident, isolating and undermining this victim that has been exploited and assaulted and violated so severely, I'm hoping that possibly the politicians and authorities will realise the significance of the damages done by those perpetrating and causing issues of hatred in society when, in fact, at this stage in history, 2020, there is no excuse for deception and deceit and reverse psychology and avoidance tactics. Because if anything's not been learned from the past, then it's just an even more sad sign of the times.